Welcome to Disaffected live stream. It is, what the hell day is it today? It is, oh yeah, there's the thing. I'm sorry, I have to look at all the things. I have to make sure it's going out to all the places. It is April 23rd, 2026. I'm Josh Slocum. This is our Thursday live edition of the show where we cut up and have fun and do it more loosely than the flagship show at 9 p.m. on Sunday night. And today I have a special guest waiting to entertain all of you. Why don't I just bring him on board? Please give it up for the complex multi-talents of Mike Harlow. Hey, Mikey.
Aw, thanks, dude. I've missed you. It's been way too long.
Good to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to this.
Tell everybody who you are and why you're on my show.
My name is Mike. I have a YouTube channel. It's just my name, Mike Harlow. Mike like Tyson, Harlow like Gene. Yeah, and I feel like I'm here because, I was describing Josh to my buddy the other day, and I was like, he's the only gay I know who is as homophobic as I am. I like to think that I have the title for it, but I don't know. Josh gives me a run for my money.
Yeah, well, the one thing, I'm going to make sure. Hang on a second. I'm looking here to see whether or not we are actually going out. I think we are going out to Twitter. I hope we're going out to Twitter. I still have not figured out this entire how to do things behind the scenes and be on the screen at the same time.
Yeah, StreamYard is a pain in the ass.
All right. Yeah. Oh, and also they only let you load. Have you noticed that? I mean, I like the product for what it is, but there's a lot of stuff in here that's really clunky. Like you can't batch upload images or video files. You have to click, go back. Number 2, click, and then you're only allowed to have 10 of them at the same time. Now, I like a content-rich environment, so this feels a little limiting to me. What do you think I mean by content?
It's your Joshy fans.
Yeah.
Here,
so
now
you guys.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah. I won't be able to see the chat, so we're going to rely on my sister Jess Ann, who is writing comments behind the scenes. You, Mike, are so you told the joke about me being the only one you know who's as homophobic as you.
Joke.
I know. That was no joke. What I want to talk about you're one of the only other gays I know who is as fed up with the bullshit and unafraid to say it as I am and just a few other people. And what I want to talk about with you today is something I'm writing about for The Blaze. It'll probably come out next week. But it's the gayification of everything, everywhere, all the time. And what I mean by that is I'm not referring just to the, quote, visibility of gay people or what people are calling queer now. I'm talking about the normal, vast majority heterosexual world. That is 98% of humanity. Sorry, homosexuals. We are not 10%. We never were 10%. We're not ever going to be 10%. Or more like 2 to 3%.
For my dating life, he's correct.
Right. So 98% of the world in the West is adopting the sexual mores, the libertinism, the promiscuity, and the public lack of shame about promiscuity that until the past 15 years, I had never seen anywhere outside of gay subculture. This is the stuff I expected to see at bars and at sex clubs and on hookup apps and at dance parties, but it's now everywhere all the time. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. That's my setup. What do you think about that as a general topic? Do you see it that way? Do you see it differently?
Completely. And especially, I think a lot of things that we're seeing now sort of had their roots in the gay culture. And we see how wonderfully that's worked out for gay men who are just, the picture perfect image of being well-adjusted, functional adults. And now they thought that this is such a positive, healthy model for people. Let's just export this to the rest of the population. And we're at a point now where it really is like gay men are acting like women and women are acting like gay men. And like the worst stereotypes of each other too.
Yeah, what's your favorite go-to example of that?
Oh God, probably whores.
No, but tell me more.
Being whores, though, it's just even in, like the little terms they use. I mean, like, listen, go click on any woman. I was gonna say under 40, but some of them are pushing 50 at this point.
Yep.
And they're talking like they sound like they're friggin' drag queens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I was thinking about that. You know, I wrote an essay a couple of years ago called Goblins, and it was about all of the people who deliberately ugly themselves up before they go out on the street. So like you go out on the street now and it's quite literally, it looks like you're watching this Female Trouble from John Waters with Divine in scar drag and all this. It literally looks like that. People are actually dressing up this way to go out on the street. But the particular, I have been shocked by the forward sexual obscenity of women that we have seen in the past 10 to 15 years at a level I have never seen before. And I don't think anybody who has their eyes open can honestly look at that and say, oh, it's parity between the sexes. No, it's not. Young women and older women these days are acting like absolute whores in their dress and their makeup. And the way they walk down the street and talking about their body counts. And I'm just like, are you serious? And then when you talk about acting like drag queens, listen to the slang and the patois of the youngest millennial people and Gen Z. They're like, it's serving. It's
no.
Or, you know, it's really
Clock it, queen.
Clock it. It's eating lunchtime. You know, all of that. Look at you.
It gives me full body chill cringe.
I hate it so much. I hate it so fucking much. But that lingo is directly out of Black drag queen culture from the 80s and 90s. This was the kind of stuff you remember. You'd hear that sort of thing in movies like Paris is Burning about the drag ballrooms in Harlem. But it's coming directly out of gay male drag culture, and it sounds so weird coming out of the mouths of young girls. Where's this? How did this happen, Mike?
I hate it so much. Well, so I've felt for a very long time that the gay culture is sort of like this upside down land where anything that is universally viewed as being positive, healthy values that'll lead to a happy life, those are the things that are shunned. And anything that is toxic and self-destructive are the things that are glamorized and promoted. It's really a message that gets sent out that you can feel the pressure of this mentality of just bang everyone, don't have relationships, do all the drugs, party your life away. And then I think a lot of men get older and realize that they've been sold a false bill of goods, that they've been lied to their entire lives, and that they're not happy, because who would be?
Right.
And now I think we're seeing the same thing with women.
When you say that, are you talking about gay men or are you talking about straight? Because
gay men, but now we're seeing the sort of expansion pack of gay ideology. Which is horrendous. It really is like gay culture and feminism are like the two hounds of hell.
And they're going to make us rot inside a corpse shell.
Yeah. I had posted this on Twitter a couple days ago. Just exactly what I just said about it. The gay culture is poison. And these gays were having some big feelings about it. And so my friend Sage, who you need to meet, you would love her. She's in the chat. She said,
what's her name?
Sage.
Is this Sage 501?
Yes, she is.
I know her.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I haven't met her in real life, but she's a disaffectant and a sometime real world correspondent. She's here today.
Oh my God. I love her so much. She said the
she's great.
Astute thing I've ever heard, though, as she often does. She said, you basically told them that their God doesn't exist. And it's so
Yes.
damn true. These are religious beliefs to them. And they have bought in so much with their entire lives, bodies, hearts, souls, everything, that what are they going to say after 20, 30 years of this? Once they've pissed their entire lives away, what are they going to say? I was wrong?
Well, yes, that it is an option. It is an option.
I don't think most people
To-
have that humility, especially bitchy gays.
They don't, but it's not. I'm sorry. I refuse to act as though that's reasonable. I mean, I did. I said, you know what?
Same.
I've lived 30 years of emptiness here. I mean, I'm older than you. I'm 51, so I've been slutting around a little bit longer. But yeah, I got to that stage in middle age. It's within the past 10 years, and just said, this is no way to live. This doesn't bring me happiness. It's an excuse for me to keep being an alcoholic. Just there's no point to this. There's no end point to it. There's only there's no end point. It's just this constant bacchanal in his circle. And I you notice this too with, I've been talking lately about, and I don't know where you are in this issue, so I'm not saying this to pressure you to agree with me. If you agree with me, that's great. If you don't, you don't have to. But I'm very opposed to surrogacy. And, because it's buying and selling babies. It just is. It's deliberately creating a baby, knowingly and consciously depriving that baby of the natural mother and father in most cases. So, I realize there are some small exceptions, but they're very small, and that's all not all that we're going to do, audience. We're not going to go off into your not all edge cases about your sister-in-law. I don't care.
For me, I feel like, and I'm not super educated on this topic, but for me, I feel it just in terms of how I feel about it, I feel like there's a difference between it being the biological child of the mother and father.
Yeah.
And using like somewhat, like, to me, that seems different. When
There's a difference. I don't know. Yeah.
It feels very wrong to me. It just feels wrong. Like, to intentionally birth a child to be deprived of a mother or father. Kids need a mother and a father. I don't know why that's controversial to say. When it comes to adoption, for me, I think it should be a hierarchy. I think that it should always be heterosexual married couples first. And then if there are none, then open it up to single parents or gay couples.
I agree. It's completely reasonable. But you and I both know that's not what's going on.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, you just said, I think children need a mother and a father. You're one of the few gay men who will actually say that. I mean, I have some who follow me on Twitter. But you say this and people get hysterical, and it's not just absolutely the gays get hysterical and bitchy and furious. But the straight people, especially the women, are so defensive of frankly, anything my fags want, my fags get. Don't you dare tell my fags no.
Oh, I can't stand it.
They want a baby. Yeah, well, I don't care if they want a baby. What does that child need? What does that child have a moral right to? They won't answer the question. And if you push them hard enough, they will come right out and say, I just had this, it wasn't really an argument, but I was astonishingly disappointed. You know the writer Chad Felix Green?
Oh, yeah.
Just the other day, I got into it with him on Twitter.
Really?
He says there's no evidence that babies need a mother and father. What they need is, they just need loving people around them. It's irrelevant. He came right out, pressed. He came right out and said, there's no natural inborn need to have a mother.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, really?
I mean,
okay.
For me, I'm very close with both my parents. So like the idea of which one would you take away? Which one would I be?
Right.
Like, there's no decision.
But this is where we are. We're at the point where people will actually, I don't even know when people say things like that, I don't even know if they believe themselves. I don't know if they really believe what they're saying. I mean, if they do believe it, they're profoundly in error. But if they don't believe it and they're still willing to say it and do it because it's what they want, I don't know which of those is worse.
Yeah. And I think what we're also seeing is that with adoption, it's the exact opposite of what should be happening. I mean, I'm sure you've heard about that horrific case that everyone cites of that gay couple molesting their adopted kids. And making videos.
There's more than one such case that's grabbed
This
the
was
headlines.
like the really well-known case. And what's particularly horrific about that is, first of all, one of them had a background of abuse, and second of all, it was a Christian adoption agency.
Oh, yeah. Is this the one where one of the quote unquote dads was actually a registered sex offender?
That's a different one.
Okay. Well, all right. So see, there's more than one. There's one going on right now where one of the men is a registered sex offender. He got a baby through surrogacy because the law, I don't remember if it was a state or province, forgive me. The law prevented men on the sex offender registry from adopting, but because it didn't say surrogacy in the law, he was just allowed to buy a baby that would have been taken away from him if it had been adopted.
That's the case in every state, that there is no law that stops any sex offender from obtaining a child through surrogacy. And the thing is, I don't like when people act as though this only happens with gay people, because there are plenty of straights that are the same shit. I don't care who you are, where you're from, what you do. If you are a sex offender, you should not be getting a child through any means.
Right. Well, as somebody said to me, somebody who objected to because I'm opposed to gay adoption and gay surrogacy. Like you, I would say there needs to be a hierarchy, but in actual practice, we're never going to be in a case where there are no heterosexual couples who are in want of a child. That's never going to be the case. I'm sorry, gays, it's not going to be the case. So that second step of the hierarchy is never actually going to get there, but we don't even do that now, and I don't think we ever are going to. And somebody said to me when I was objecting to gay adoption, they said, shouldn't we be vetting parents for abusive tendencies or personality disorders regardless of sexual orientation? Well, yes, of course we should, but we're not. Why ask that question when you already know we're not? Right? You already know we're not. Nobody's doing anything like that anymore.
That's insane. First of all, that's insane. There wouldn't be any type of screening for shit like that. I mean, God, you look at, so I have this new obsession of watching these body cam videos on YouTube. I don't know if you've ever seen that. I cannot.
Oh, I have, yeah.
And it's so horrific that you'll see, like a parent who killed their kids, and they're like, "Oh, CPS was here 20 times. They did nothing." Every time there was like every warning sign in the world, and nothing is done.
Well, why would anything be done? Because the ethos at Child Protection Services for years and today has been that poisoning your child with cross-sex hormones, lying to your child and colluding in their fantasy that they are the opposite sex, and potentially surgically mutilating them, CPS considers that love. They call that love. And they take your child away if you refuse to mutilate them. It's that satanic inversion, gender affirming care. I mean, of course they're not going to do anything about actual abuse. They don't recognize abuse as abuse. They are living in an inversion. They see abuse and they call it love. They see love and they call it abuse.
Oh,
why would you expect anything from CPS?
And that is what the gay culture is: satanic inversion.
Yes.
I love that phrase.
Well, it comes from the fact that I've been in my confused agnostic phase for a while, looking for faith, not finding it, finding myself more drawn to Christianity and Christian ethics, but I can't lie and say I have faith in God when I don't, even if I try to get it. So I'm this confused mess, right? But I can't help but notice, and I've noticed for years now, that what we call cluster B, the narcissism, the exploitation of other people, the inversion of reality, the substituting bitter for sweet, light for dark, what we call cluster B and narcissism is exactly the same kind of behaviors that are literally satanic, that are evil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Truth and falsehood are reversed. So you can use psychiatric terminology like I do. You can use religious terminology like many Christians do. We're all describing the same reality, the same real human evil and compromise.
Well, and you know what else is, I think they're really it's kind of just us and maybe one or two other people that I think a lot of these conservative gays, they only talk about trans shit as if gay people were going along just fine until the transes came in. I don't agree with that.
It's not true.
Obviously. Thank
It's
you.
not
Thank
true. It's
you.
not true.
Like, obviously, the trans stuff is just the next evolution of it and probably the worst evolution. But there are lots of problems with that. They're like, oh, just get rid of, drop the T and everything's fine. I'm like, I just want to blow up the entire alphabet.
Yeah. This is what's put me at odds, fully at odds now. There's no part of the so-called gay community that I want any part of. I have zero overlap with it at all anymore. And anyone who feels they're part of a gay community, I am not part of your community. We are not on the same team. We don't share the same values. We absolutely don't share the same goals. I'm working against your goals.
I love you.
this idea that homosexuals have now, and many of them do believe it. Some of them will come to I think, a deeper and more honest understanding in time. Most will not. They really do believe that everything was just fine in gay world until what they call the T came along, trans. Well, here's what I think. Trans was not an outside force that came in and impinged on a wholly separate so-called community. It is part of the same spectrum of sexual deviation. I'm sorry, but it just is. No, I'm not saying it's the same thing to be a homosexual and to be, there's a very big difference between you or me, Mike, saying I'm a homosexual. We're not saying I'm a woman. We're not saying you have to pretend that I'm a woman. We're not saying that we're something we're not. And we're not trying to lie to people. There is an ontological difference. But in my view, this is part of the same spectrum of sexuality and culture, and the depravity of particularly the gay male community is long-standing. The permissiveness, the refusal to not be promiscuous, the bragging about it, all of this stuff, this was all built into the DNA of gay men and the way they act long before the so-called trans takeover. And gay men's successful cultural push to, quote, normalize homosexuality, whatever you feel about that, right? Like, for example, I'm opposed to what we call gay marriage, but I am in favor of and would still advocate for legal protections like civil unions that allow any adult person, homosexual or heterosexual, to arrange their lives and have next of kin for medical and funeral and financial decisions. I'm still for all that. That's equality under the law. But this attempt to normalize gay male culture is a narcissistic and sexual culture. It always has been. It was never pure as the driven snow. That was never the majority of people. And not one of 100 so-called gay marriages are even monogamous. It's just not true. But the successful effort to normalize this is what helped open the door to the most extreme parts of so-called trans. We are co-responsible for trans. It is not something that just came in and was pushed on us.
See, I guess there's this little 1% of me that is I don't know why, but for some, I'm sick in the head that remains a little bit hopeful that I feel like this is how things are, but they don't have to be. But in reality, looking at what could possibly change, nothing. Because to change a problem, you have to acknowledge the existence of a problem. And none of these people think that there's any problem. They think that this is a perfectly wonderful way to live. And it's just not. And misery loves company, so they like making everyone else miserable as well.
Yeah. So when you talk about a perfectly acceptable way to live, describe draw it out. Be a little more specific. What is the thing that they think is perfectly acceptable as a lifestyle that you think is not?
Exactly what you just said, that most marriages, even with gay people, aren't monogamous. Most relationships aren't. There's just this mentality of hooking up with everyone, shunning relationships. Whenever I try to talk about like relationships I've had or whatever with straight friends of mine, they don't get it. They don't get it. They think it's the same thing, and it's not. They'll say to me, why didn't you just say this? Why didn't you just explain your feelings or something. Like, you don't get it. You can't do that. You don't get it. You don't get how deeply, and this is a horrible thing, obviously. This is a flaw within me from being around these people for so many years, but you don't get how deeply, deeply ingrained it is to feel ashamed of ever having feelings for anyone, ever wanting any sort of relationship. You have to conceal that and hide. I mean, a year into a relationship, you can't be honest about that.
Okay, this is interesting. This is I'm learning something. It's been so long since I had any kind of relationship with a man, whether it was a hookup or dating or anything like that. And I myself have never had a successful romantic relationship. And at this point, I've chosen celibacy.
You and me both.
But I think you've dated more recently than I have, and I think I'm hearing you say that the done thing among gay men who date each other is to deny any deep feelings. Is that really what's going on?
Yes. Well, and most of them are incapable of experiencing it, because even a lot of these gays who claim to be conservative is, they might be conservative in their views on taxes or their views on foreign policy, but they are not in terms of how they live their lives, and they are completely brainwashed by this gay culture still, no matter how conservative they claim to be. And I see it all the time on Twitter with a lot of these gays that claim to be conservative, and then they're posting about orgies they're going to, and they're posting, oh, I'm at a bar, I was blowing a guy in the back room. And I'm like, these are the conservative. If these are the conservative gays, can you imagine what the liberal gays must be like?
Well, it's true. And I see there's a parallel with women too. A lot of these women who call themselves conservative women, they are not conservative. They are feminists. They are girl boss feminists.
Yeah.
You see them all over Fox News. You see them all over podcasting. That's not very like this, and they may be saying things about the Bible and God, but like they are certainly going to tell men how to be the best husbands and what you need to do to service your wife. And like, you are not a conservative. You're just a fucking feminist.
Yeah.
And feminist is just a word for socially acceptable female narcissism.
Yeah, well, and it's the same thing with gays. And these people, they just want to blame the trans for everything, but they don't want to look inward. They don't want to do any introspection. They don't think there's any issue.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Let me read out a couple of comments here, because people are being kind enough to give money.
Do it. Support this wonderful man. I love him.
Thank you. So Sage, $5. Thank you very much. She says, the other night, Mikey said he was afraid you surpassed him as the top homophobic gay. I told him that I thought you, Josh, were in fact the king of homosexual homophobia, but that Mikey was the prince. Yeah, well, you're going to outlive me. So when I die, you inherit the crown. You are the heir apparent. Mike.
No. I envision us being like Statler and Waldorf. We're gonna be like the old men in Muppets, just the gay version.
I'm already there. Yeah.
Same. Yeah, we don't need to wait to age.
Karen Stark says, controversial question. Is a mother who's willing to sell her baby fit to be a mother? Well, you know what's funny about that is there is no reason that should be a controversial question. And this is the other thing that drives me insane about the surrogacy conversation. And really, I've lost respect for a lot of people that I formerly respected when I saw their responses to this. This is especially true of the so-called TERFs, the trans exclusionary radical feminists, the people. They're against surrogacy because they want the woman who rents her womb out and the woman who sells her baby, they want to create her as a victim of patriarchy, a victim of these mean, narcissistic men. Well, they are indeed narcissistic and acquisitive, disgusting men if they would buy a baby. That is indeed true. But any woman who would sell her baby is an evil whore. That's literally being an evil whore.
I love you so much. Oh my God, I love you, dude.
How is it not? How is it not being an evil whore? You are getting paid to get knocked up, and then you are literally selling your baby.
You're my favorite, dude. Oh my God.
But it shouldn't be remarkable. It shouldn't be remarkable that anyone says that. This is the whole, the whole idea that, we're living in this era of Well, feminization, but infantilization at the same time. These women they want all of the privileges and the perks. They want to be given things. They want to be given email jobs. They want to be gassed up. They want to be praised and worshiped, but they refuse to be responsible for any decision they make. Whenever something goes wrong or whenever they don't get what they want, they start pointing at men and saying, she only did it because he wasn't supportive, or something like that. And it's just like, no man made you sell your baby. Well, she did not have any choice. Oh, she can't work at Dollar General? Really? She couldn't work at Dollar General. She couldn't work at Wegmans. Yeah. She had to sell a baby. I was our only choice.
Well, and that goes back to what we were saying, is that it really is a situation where women and gay men both there's no situation ever where they're expected to take any sort of personal accountability.
Responsibility.
Never.
Look at what happened. Look at the AIDS crisis in the 80s and early 90s. I remember it. I remember going to an ACT UP demonstration. Do you remember that group, ACT UP?
Oh, I've been protested by them.
Oh, have you?
Yes.
Have you? Okay.
They wrote a whole hit piece on
Congratulations. Oh, good. I'm glad. You must have really gotten under
homophobia
under their very thin skin. I remember going to one of their protests sometime around 1990 or 1991 and screaming, "We're here, we're queer, get used to it." Right?
Oh, what I would give to see the footage of that.
Oh, it's quite pathetic. But that's what we were all doing in those days. We were all screaming at Ronald Reagan. President Reagan was responsible for the AIDS crisis because he wouldn't pay for enough medical research to cure this plague on the gay community, and homophobia led to the death of 15,000 men. No,
well,
you know what?
And they still hate him. So
they still hate,
as if their words mean nothing.
Do you know where the AIDS crisis came from? It came from untrammeled butt fucking. It came from gay men being sluts. Gay men did the AIDS crisis to ourselves 100%, not even 99%, 100% our own responsibility. We don't want to take any responsibility either. And it's this, gay men have gotten no more mature in the ensuing 4 years. Worse. Not at all.
No. Oh, and I'll give you a big example, especially of how this shit intersects with politics and Democrats. So it used to be the law that if you have AIDS, if you have HIV, and you sleep with someone, you are legally required to disclose it to them. Yep. As every sane person should agree, it should be.
Yep.
Well, then they were led by that creep Scott Wiener in California. And it spread to other states that they got rid of those laws. And the thing is, there are a lot of sick people out there. There are predators. There have been cases like this where some guy who has HIV will go around and convince these very young guys, 18, 19-year-olds, that he's in love with them, get them to have unprotected sex, and then will text them after, haha, you got AIDS. That is a sexual predator. So these laws that are done in the name of kindness and compassion is really just legalizing sexual predators. And and where even now, like, it's as if there is nothing that should ever get in the way of gay men just being complete degenerates all the time.
Yeah. Well, and people ask about, well, why are gay men degenerates all the time? And one component of it is simply the sexual arrangement of who is sleeping with whom, that because men and women are different. Men and women are biologically different. I'm talking about men and women. Sexuality doesn't have anything to do with it. Gay men and straight men share common male hardware and common male software in many ways. But there's some differences, but we are men. Women have a different approach to sexuality. Without the countervailing in female influence in a relationship, men are going to do what men want to do, and we are naturally promiscuous. Most men will take the opportunity to have sex with just about anyone. Not all, But yes, that is a characteristic of men. So you get a bunch of men together who are horny on a male level, and of course they're going to screw each other all the time. So one part of this is simply the structure of it. We don't have to answer to women, and women can't temper our sexual excess because we're not involved with them, right? But it isn't just that. It is, and present company accepted. Here's the not all. I understand this doesn't apply to everybody, but it is still the majority. The majority of gay men have a lot of mental dysfunction. And the majority of us come from some kind of neglect or abuse or mistreatment or dysfunctional home in our backgrounds. And we come out of childhood with mental problems. And, when you see, we used to know this. I think we probably don't know it anymore because sexualized children has become normal too. But up until very recently, we used to look, if you saw a 12 or 13-year-old girl who was dressing in hooker clothes and being really forward and really sexual, you would look at her and say, who's abusing that girl at home? What's going on in her home life? We recognize that early excessive sexualized behavior is a sign of neglect, abuse, and a dysfunctional outcome for a young person. But gay men act like this throughout their lives, and we don't recognize. They would like us to. Oh, it's just natural to us. No, it's also often rooted in emotional and mental problems that need resolution.
That's the thing, is that, like you said, men are going to be men regardless. There's no woman to come in and be a civilizing influence on the men as they are in heterosexual relationships. Thus, we need to get that from somewhere, in which case, if there's going to be this idea of the gay community, that's where it should be coming from. That's where there should be cultural guardrails instilling good values. There's obviously no such concept that exists, so there are no guardrails. There is nothing that a gay man could do that could ever be frowned upon, other than, not be a communist, of course.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at our entire social movement has been named after one of the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah.
Pride. Right?
And that's a
root problem right there.
That ain't a good thing.
No, it's not. Praise me. I'm a proud gay. I used to say shit like this, and it makes me cringe at my former self. I was callow and young and narcissistic and ignorant, but I used to say, I'm a proud gay man. What the hell are you proud of?
Yeah.
What does it mean to say I'm proud of who I like to sleep with? What does that even mean?
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. What the hell was I about? Sorry, I went brain dead for a second. I was about to say something, and I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Let me read another comment. Professor Tie-Dye, $5. Thank you, sir. From the #1 Midwestern dad fan of Josh and Mike. Well, thank you very kindly. You are awesome. You both are. Oh, geez. Don't pay to praise me. It makes me feel embarrassed. And then I get ungracious. He says, my take on surrogacy got too many F slurs, big mad at me. He means faggots.
Faggots.
They are just parroting the big gay accounts talking points. Absolutely.
And the big gay conservatives too.
Yep.
What I was going to say, sorry, we'll get back to that in a sec. What I was going to say that I just remembered, the thing is, with men and women, there are certain concepts that exist, and they are, believe me, I understand that they're in short supply nowadays, and that they're being twisted, and people are trying to even get rid of that. But there are at least concepts that exist for the bare minimum of how men and women should treat each other. Respect women, honor men, open the door, don't sleep with someone for the first few dates. These are at least concepts that exist. With gay men, there are no such concepts. There is no low bar. There is no bare minimum. There is no baseline expectation of any sort of decency. There are no concepts that exist. And if you try to say to these people that maybe there should be some sort of baseline expectation of what's healthy. Oh, they hate that. Like Sage said, that's
they get furious with you.
God does not exist.
They get furious with you. And Professor Tie-Dye, you might think, as a lot of people do, a lot of straight people do, you know, you may think that, well, you know, that you as a straight guy and a dad can't say these things, but a gay guy can. Mike and I can't say them either. We get exactly
Oh,
the
they hate
same
us more than
pushback, and
anything.
in fact, they hate us even more. They already hate you because you represent normal, right? Um, you know, you're a stupid breeder, but they hate guys like us even more because we are traitors.
Well,
We're
and I
traitors to
always
them.
ask, we're traitors to the LGBTQ community. But here's the
Yeah,
thing, I always ask them, I'm like, oh,
humanity.
well, I'm like, well, I wouldn't want to be a traitor. So please tell me how I can avoid being a traitor because I never joined a group called LGBTQ. I never joined it. And on the same
Yep.
hand, you people say that gay people are born this way. So if you're born gay, yet never join a group called LGBTQ, do you people then believe that you are just entitled to, is there some sort of blood oath signed from birth on every gay person that requires you to their mind, loyalty, everything for their entire lives? Like, how do I get out of a club that I never joined?
Well, the answer is yeah, you're right. But the answer is yes, that is what they expect. And
Yeah.
I see this in all manner of identity groups. Feminism does the same thing to women. Feminism treats women, traditional and conservative women, women who say I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a homemaker. You know, I don't think that men are shit. Those women are treated exactly the same by the feminists that we're treated by these faggots. They do believe they're entitled to your undying loyalty, that you have been conscripted. Blacks do it to other blacks. Blacks
Oh
do it
yeah.
to conservative and respectable blacks. It's every identity group. I think it's just it's a tribal feature of humanity. But you're right. There's no etiquette. There are no expectations. There's no floor for gay men. You know, people talk about when I hear people talk about gay dating, I laugh because there's no such thing as gay dating.
It really
Gay
isn't.
men don't go on dates. They may call them dates, but they're going out to fuck on the first date every time.
I
Yes,
don't.
every time.
Well,
That
and
you are
that
expected if you're. I mean,
yes.
do you think Grinder is for people to find somebody they're going to settle down with in the suburbs? Do you think that anybody outside of maybe 2 in 1,000? Do you think that any two men who meet each other on this thing are actually just going to go to dinner and a movie? Is that what you think?
Well, and that's the thing. If you are someone who wants to go to dinner and a movie and all that, like I'm sick enough to want to do, it is not received well.
Yeah.
It
Is that
people don't get that, I think, unless they've experienced it. They don't get like how deeply ingrained it is that you have to stifle any sort of thoughts of relationships or anything other than just hooking up with someone.
yeah. You know, actually, I realize I'd like to introduce you to the audience a little bit more for people who don't know you and wonder why we're talking to each other. Why I'd ask you on there. Mikey is a podcaster. He's been one for a lot longer than I have, and he's been speaking about some of these things for longer than I have too. You have an interesting backstory. Could you give kind of the canned version of where you've been, who you've been politically, culturally, what changed your mind, what got you to where you are? I know you have some experience with the walk away movement, for example, but give us the autobiography of Mike Harlow becoming the adult man you are today with the views you have today.
Sure. Well, so I'm from New York City, born and raised. I come from a family of artists and musicians, and growing up in New York, it's sort of just the default that you're a Democrat, you're a liberal. I had never heard any different point of views my entire life, so I was that person who thought if Rachel Maddow didn't say it, it didn't happen. And anyone
Mm-hmm.
who's not a leftist is just, a racist, homophobic, Nazi, all the words. The thing is, though, what's interesting, so it's been about almost a decade now since my views changed around. It took a couple years. It was sort of like a progression. But you know what's interesting, and I wanted to ask you this also, is the one thing that has never changed is I've always felt this way about the gays since the moment, because we are sold this lie. We are sold this lie of pride, rainbows, the community. So I was like 18 when I came out,
Okay.
expecting to be embraced and welcomed and the community. And all I ever experienced was being completely out of step with these miserable, miserable people. I've never been able to get along with them. So when people act like it's just conservatives and stuff, that's just what they're pinning it on today. This is a cult. They are just like bitchy. They're like, it's like a woman who's on her period 24 hours a day. That is what dealing with gay men is like. And for some reason, that's always been just, even when I was a liberal, I've been completely out of step with them in terms of my values, my interests, because they are just so much built upon conformity. They all have the way they all adopt the same interests, the same speech patterns, the same opinions.
Yes.
They dress alike, they look alike, they sound alike. It is just, they are all in lockstep conformity. And there's no group of people that has more subsets of labels than gay people do. So it's like, they'll give you 3 or 4 different flavors that you're allowed to be amongst
like
them.
what?
Twing, top, bottom, all of these. Yeah. It's like they give you that you are prescribed an entire platform for personhood. And if you don't fit into that, they will hate you. So yeah, it was years later, like when my views changed, that I realized.
What jogged your change of view? I mean, I know it's not one event. I'm not proposing that one event did that. It was a process for me too. But what kinds of things caused you to turn away from leftism and liberalism?
It was a progression of years. I think that looking back in retrospect, the first big one was being the victim of a crime. I had a home invasion back in the day when I was living in Brooklyn. And so obviously I had to like get out of that apartment and move very quickly. So I went to one of these room rental services where you can like move in that day. So I show up to the place in Manhattan. It's in the projects. So I lived in the projects for a month and I got to see up close and personal. And this was before Trump came along. This was before a lot of this shit.
Okay.
I got to see up close and personal this shit. The woman who I was renting the room in her apartment had like 5 kids from 5 different parents, all of them, 5 different fathers. All of them were in jail. I remember I asked her, "What do you do?" She said,
"Kids are the fathers."
She said, "I'm in the system." That's what she does for a living. And her, just like I'm sure her parents were, and just like I'm sure her kids will be.
Right.
And so then, but it didn't really occur to me then why this was happening. And then it was maybe a couple years later that hyper political correctness started. And suddenly every minute of every day I was being called some sort of sexist, racist, homophobic. I always tell them only homophobic is true. But it was like anything you said was some sort of issue. And I actually hated Trump when he first ran. I didn't vote for him in 2016. So it was another couple years of a progression before he was in office, and I realized, wait, he's actually doing some good things. Wait, I kind of like this. Wait, they're lying about this. And that's the thing, once you see the ways that they lie, there's no one seeing it.
No, there isn't, but it's amazing how many people have seen the same things, some of the same things you and I have, who still don't see it, right? Like, what you described, from observation, it's my belief that most people do not change their minds on very serious topics like morality and political and cultural orientation to the world until they face some kind of pain, problem, or crisis that they don't know what to do with, and that forces them to see the world differently than they have before. So, I went through that with waking up to my mother's psychopathy. That was the trigger for me to see, because that's where my leftism originally came from. For you, it was living in the projects and seeing the reality that these people lived this criminal, exploitative lifestyle, and they did it proudly, and they thought it was normal. You had to see the reality of what it wasn't the benighted working class who's working so nobly to elevate themselves. You saw the reality. So I saw the reality at home. But I also, there was, although no one thing changed my mind. There were a couple of events that were turning points and that accelerated my my ability to see the world a little more truthfully. And one of them was the confrontation in Washington, D.C., between the so-called native elder and the Covington, Kentucky Catholic school boys. Do you
Oh
remember
my
that one?
God.
Where they accused the boys of smirking at a wise native elder and being racist and all this sort of stuff. You remember that incident?
Oh yes.
And CNN went after them and besmirched them, and those boys eventually won a lawsuit against CNN. I'm ashamed to say, what year was that? Was that 2019, 2020?
Something like that. Yeah.
I think it was 2019. I am ashamed to say that when I first saw that footage, I took the lefty position.
Oh.
I remember, I'm sure I wrote on Facebook or someplace like that, look at that smirking, arrogant, heterosexual, blah, 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 Trumper, blah, 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 blah. What a freaking idiot I was. Because thankfully, very quickly after that, it didn't take a long time. It wasn't like 6 months or anything. Very quickly after that, when people started to come out and show all the footage, which showed that this American Indian guy, this Native American elder, was following them around and provoking them. He's beating his stupid fucking Indian drum at them. Boom, 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 boom. Trying to get up in there. He was provoking them and they didn't do anything. They just smiled at him. They literally just smiled at him. And my brainwashed ass saw them as doing a racism to this guy. That's how brainwashed I was. But when I, just a few weeks after that, when I started to see the real thing, I really did. I said to myself, what is wrong with your judgment? Why do you think you saw something you didn't see? No, I mean, I wasn't expecting it. I sure wasn't expecting it.
Same.
But when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I wasn't just a little bit wrong. I was like, that really made me think, your judgment is really shitty when it comes to this stuff. It was not comfortable, and it's not supposed to be. Did you have any moments like that, Mike?
Oh my God, so many. And I think it is interesting to look back at how many issues are related to that sort of experience I went through back in the day, because that was so, not to get dark or anything, but so when I had a home invasion.
That's what this show is for. Let's get dark.
It was like a rape situation, basically.
Yeah.
And so at the time.
Oh, you were raped too?
You too? Oh my God.
Oh my God. Click it, girl. Click it.
I love you so much. See, but that's the exact thing that these people would flip out about back in the day and say, how dare you laugh or something.
Yeah.
So there are two sides to this. So first of all, in New York, zero form of self-defense is legal. Not pepper spray, not anything. So there was a time where I was mugged and my dad had a cop friend and he got me pepper spray, which was, just like peace of mind to be able to walk around my neighborhood. It got confiscated by cops. And so I asked them, if 5 guys come up to me. They
confiscate pepper spray in New York State?
It's illegal. Yep.
Jesus.
I'm
so glad I don't live there anymore.
5 guys come up to me who are twice my size. What do I do? What form of self-defense is allowed? They said
you're supposed to die because you're white, Mike.
They said you can have a whistle. I'm like, you know what? I would rather get murdered by an entire gang than stand somewhere blowing a fucking whistle.
Do you see the feminization and infantilization of society?
So in that home invasion situation, I was able to overpower him. And so the cops did nothing. They actually told me he could have a claim against me, the person who broke into my house, raped me, for excessive force. They said I could have used excessive force. So that's New York for you. And so then, and the thing is, I used to be as anti-gun as anybody. I think there's a part of this that I don't love, because I'm like, why does somebody have to experience it themselves to know that this shit is wrong? But so then when these people would argue about the Second Amendment with me, like that, if that doesn't make you realize how important the Second Amendment is, nothing will. So then it was maybe like a year or two later, and I was finally like sort of, I don't know, coming to terms with everything, I guess. And so I had like a blog at the time. This was like more than a decade ago when blogs were a thing. And so I had a little bit of a readership on there, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to write about everything I went through. because this was when all the Me Too shit was happening, and it was a big thing at the time. Back then, rape was like what trans is now. It was like the issue for them, and it was a big thing that they were like, rape is never funny, and it was funny because a lot of these people I was surrounded by at the time.
Don't ever say something like that to me, because I'll make a joke about it.
Oh, please do. Please do. That was my whole point. And so it's funny that a lot of these people, because when that happened, I only told like a couple of people and all this shit. So these like liberal chicks that I was surrounded by at the time would start screaming at me over any little jokey statement that they could twist into being about that. Like one time I had said, I was at a bar with people and they said I give big hugs. I was like, oh yeah, I know, my hugs are like a step away from date rape. And they in my face, but without knowing what I had been through with that. So anyway, I decided to write a blog about the whole experience because I wanted to give a couple different points of view. One is learning to laugh. Two is not being a victim. A good friend of mine at the time said something that really resonated with me, that said, we can't help what happens to us, but whether or not you're a victim is what happens after, and how you choose to respond to it. So I wanted to give that point of view, which now I know there was no such term at the time, which now I know is like a not woke point of view.
Right.
And these people flipped out. They had it censored for websites. They had to different outlets that shared it had to apologize and take it down. We're so sorry. How dare we? So that was a big red pilling moment for me.
Yeah, and I don't know if you had the same experience, but you know, I was roofied and raped when I was 17 years old.
Oh my God.
And no, I'm not saying, you know, I don't know if your rape was just like mine, but
no, but I
got the starter pack.
I've been roofied separately. Aren't gay men great?
Rape sold separately.
I love you so much.
Ask for it in your grocer's freezer case. But like when I've talked about particularly on Twitter, you know, the difference between I'm really exercised by false rape claims and inflated rape claims, which it seems to be the done thing for millennial and Gen Z women, is to claim that, you know, somebody putting his hands on your knee a little bit inappropriately at a party is a form of sexual assault. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
No, I mean literally go home and go fuck yourself. You need it. That's ridiculous. You know, that's called getting handsy. It's called getting fresh. It's not called sexual assault.
Yep.
Right.
Well, that was another thing I got screamed at about at the time, that I remember Netflix instituted a policy that said men cannot look women in the eye for longer than 5 seconds. That's an actual policy that they put into place in like 2017.
Who put this policy into place?
Yep. And so another thing, they, especially with all that Me Too shit, they do not like hearing that men could ever have this happen to them. Like they like their narrative of women are always victims, men are always perpetrators. So the nastiness of any man who's ever been through similar thing, which I think with gay men is fairly common.
Fairly common.
Yeah.
Lots of us have been raped. Why? Because we hang around with sexually charged men. And you know, that's what happens. You know, but this is what I'm talking about. When I've talked about this online, you know, the feminists, their first, you know, they have a stereotyped groove in their head. They've pre-written a script about all of their opponents, and they just slot you into it before they even know anything about you.
Yep.
And you know, they'll start accusing me, you know, I'm a misogynist. I think, you know, rape is funny, blah, 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 blah. When I actually disclose, well, you know what? No, actually, when I was 17, a 24-year-old man put a roofie in my drink and anally raped me. And the only reason I knew that was because when I woke up the next morning, I could feel the pain. And then he was there beside me saying, do you remember what I did to you last night? So I actually have been raped up the ass, right? So I, you know, no, I don't think actual rape is funny. And I do think it's a terrible crime. They didn't change their stance a bit. They continued to be verbally abusive. They literally, these people, feminists, they do not care about anything they claim they care about.
None
They
of
are
them
not
do.
full of empathy. They do not, I don't think they care about women who are actually abused. They certainly don't. They like hearing about male abuse. They often chuckle uproariously when they hear about young boys or teen boys being abused by their mothers. They love it. You know, he was a stupid misogynist. No wonder his mother didn't love him. Lol. You know, they're just narcissists.
These people are sick.
You
Well,
brought this up. Go ahead, Mike. Go.
Well, I was just saying, and when this was happening, I don't know if it was like 2015, 16, 17, something like that, was when a lot of this stuff was really first coming to the forefront, what's called woke now. But there were so many crazy things like this that really were very impactful to me waking up to the left. Like, for example, university, there were a bunch of universities at this time that said they're going to stop teaching rape law because it's triggering. How are you going to put them away then? Or there was another one, there was someone started some small business that was like a nail polish for women that you can put in a drink and it changes color if it was roofied.
Oh, I've seen that dumb stuff. Yes.
Well, but the thing is, they flipped out. How dare you? I think she had to shut her business down. That they're like, it shouldn't be on the woman. It's men. Teach men not to rape.
Oh, I see.
I
yeah,
think that's a great thing. Like, maybe not in terms of people who are paranoid and think they're going to be roofied anywhere, but if I don't know, like, you want to have at
no,
it.
you're pointing out the dynamic, and that no, you're right. Their primary concern, the only thing they care about, they want to be special privileged victims who get special things, and they want men to pay for it. They want men to pay for it reputationally. All men, all of them. They're not just angry. They're probably all angry at their bad or absent fathers. And I understand that. The daddy issues are real, and so are mommy issues. But you can't just be an adult and go through life with them unresolved and spewing them out onto everybody else. But that's all they care about. The only pleasure they get is being seen as victims of big bad men. And they will work to continue to make themselves either perceived to be victims, or they will make themselves actual victims in order to get the sympathy.
You know what I've come to realize, by the way? So my family background is the opposite of a lot of people. I've come to realize I blame my parents for everything, because I will tell you why. My parents have been together like 50 years. When I was growing up, they were the only parents that were still married. In school, everyone's parents were divorced. They're so, to this day, my dad is in his 90s. They're so in love. And it gave me completely messed up expectations about relationships. Like, imagine going from that, your parents being so close, so in love, and we're Italian, so it's all about family and stuff like that. So going from that and thinking that's the norm to then being thrust into the gay culture where that's what's demonized, it's a mind fuck.
Well, and it would be, but you know, what's really disturbing to me is I can understand this happening to you as a gay guy, you know, coming from a traditional background. You got married parents who actually love each other, and then you come out into the gay world. But this is going on with young heterosexuals now too. I mean, it is just as normal for them to be on hookup apps and talk. I mean, you've got men have always indulged in more bawdy locker room talk. Young women these days, the obscenity that comes out of their mouth is astonishing to me. They brag in public about their body count.
Oh God.
They do, right?
I hate that enough when men do that.
I'm sorry, it's worse when women do it. It's worse. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel about it. And it certainly doesn't lead them to any happiness. But you brought something up that because you're here and you brought it up, I haven't talked about this yet. I'll probably work something up on this in essay form, maybe for the show, but about the aftermath of rape. So let's get like quasi serious for a minute. There is this unresolvable tension that I feel between two states of reflecting on what it means to be violated that way. So rape is treated as rape is probably, would you say it's fair that next to murder, we treat that as the most serious crime?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think there's a reason for that, because that kind of violation is profoundly distressing to a person. It's worse than getting punched in the face. You know, it's intimate. It's a real violation of yourself. There's a reason why rape is treated so seriously. And folks, okay, here's your not all. All right. Yeah, I know rapists don't get sentences enough. I get it. Okay. But we do, in general, treat rape as a serious crime. And culturally, we treat it as a serious crime. But I think that one of the effects of that, that we've gone too far on, now I'm not saying the law is going too far in punishing rape severely. It's not. The law doesn't go far enough. I'm saying that our cultural emphasis on this, and particularly when it's been hijacked by things like Me Too and done very glibly, it is taught a narrative, and I think a damaging myth, mostly to women, but certainly to the men who've been raped as well, that this is such a deeply damaging crime that you will never be whole again. You will always have the worst trauma. Right? And I don't know how to resolve the tension, because I do not wish to trivialize rape. I think we should take it more seriously than we do. I think rapists should be executed. I didn't even think they should be given life sentences. I think they should be executed. And I mean real rape. Real rape. I'm not talking about anything other than real rape, and everyone knows what real rape is. But on the other hand, so I got roofied and raped at 17. It was a terrible experience. There was nobody I could tell it to. I certainly wasn't going to report it to the police. I couldn't even tell it to my friends. And part of the reason why is because I had some I was responsible for putting myself in the situation where this happened. I knew, and I ignored what I knew, going into a situation with someone that I had every red flag. And I wanted to push the envelope, and I wanted to have a little bit of fun, and only the amount of fun that I wanted. Had I made better choices, I was hanging around with a psychopathic drug dealer, okay? And I was thinking with my dick, because he was smoking hot. That's the truth. I was horny, and I wanted to fool around a little bit. And I ended up where I ended up because of this. You know, somebody with better judgment would not have done what I did. But so
no.
Of course I was 17. This is all true, right? But, you know, this made it a difficult, it was bad enough to get raped, but it was harder not to be able to tell anybody and to be ashamed of what I had done that contributed to me being taken advantage of that way. So it was a lot of conflicting feelings. So all that's true, right? Here's what else is true. This happened in 1991, for God's sake. It's ancient history.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the last time I had a bad dream or a nightmare about it. I am not walking around every day as a victim of rape.
Yeah.
You know, I even hesitate to say this, but I got over it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not. What am I supposed to want to be beset by this? And should I be crying every day? What is the point of this?
See, and that's exactly what I was saying back in the day when I wrote about it. That's exactly what I was saying, that people had to, and that's what they were telling me I couldn't say. That's what they were telling me is so unspeakably horrible. But I think what else are you going to do? And it's true. Like, misery loves company. They want everybody to just wallow and be miserable. My childhood, my this, my that. Get over it. Get over it. For yourself, get over it. Because
it's
another that doesn't make it okay. That doesn't mean
no. It doesn't make it okay. But becoming an identity victim as a result of that is the absolute worst thing you can do for your own sense of sovereignty and effectiveness in the world. And frankly, it's really irritating. It's extraordinarily irritating to other people. Aren't you sick of everybody's victimhood?
Beyond. And I think, and I'm sure you agree, that I think having gone through a real thing like that, when people come out with these bullshit things like you mentioned, it's just insufferable. Do you remember that comedian Aziz Ansari?
Yes, that's a great example.
Oh my God. This bitch was saying she went home with him, hooked up with him, never said no, never said she didn't want to. And her claim against him is that when she was blowing him, he held her head down. As which would mean that every man in existence is a rapist by this woman's standards.
Yep.
It's unbelievable.
Yep.
Well, and what's also unbelievable is how whenever these people, like in terms of celebrities or whatever, whenever it's a member of the LGBT community, those bitches get protected if they're any sort of predator. They get protected. There's a reason that Kevin Spacey, the first thing he said when it came out that he was accused, he goes, "I'm a gay man," thinking that that's like his shield of protection.
I know. Well, speaking, I don't know. I don't know Kevin Spacey. I know that Hollywood is full of filth and degeneracy. But, honestly, and I may not know as much about this as I should know, but it didn't sound to me like Kevin Spacey did anything other than the average lecherous gay man does. Were there I don't remember the details of this, but
I think so. Well, I think he was killing them because like three of his accusers mysteriously died in the span of like a year. I think he was killing them. I don't know all the details about the accusations, but I definitely think he was killing them. And then at the same time that one of them mysteriously died, he puts out this creepy ass video that he
I remember that. That was
I believe in killing people with kindness. I'm like, this bitch is killing them.
Maybe he is.
I 100% think that he was killing all of them. I really do. But no one seems interested in it. And then Tucker Carlson puts him on his show to be like, oh, he was. I'm like, all these bitches are the same. They're all the same.
Well, speaking of historical allegations, I want to rerun something for you that I did on my show this past weekend. Did you hear? Because it was so much fun, and I'm sorry, I crack myself up, so I just want to watch my own funniness again. So I'm going to play something for you. But did you hear about the accusations from Australian actress Ruby Rose against Katy Perry?
Yes. Oh, I can't wait to hear your take on it.
Okay, well, you won't have to wait any longer because here it is. Katy Perry under investigation by Australian cops after Ruby Rose's shocking sexual assault allegation. So, Australian actress Ruby Rose has just filed a police complaint against pop singer Katy Perry for an alleged vagine-on-face incident from 20 years ago. Quote from the story. Earlier that same day, Rose wrote via Threads that she had finalized all reports, that is police reports, about Perry, 41, allegedly pulling her underwear to the side and rubbing her disgusting vagina on my face at the Spice Market nightclub nearly 20 years ago. Well, we have made because we don't have the original video footage for you, we have made a high-quality forensic reconstruction of the incident.
This nightclub's so fun. Oh, is that Ruby Rose?
California girls are undeniable.
Oh my god, is that Katy Perry?
Oh, hi, Katy Perry. Hi, Ruby Rose. How are you? I'm like super awesome. What are you doing, Katy Perry? Well, I have something really special to show you. Yeah? What is it? It's my vagine. Oh, Katy Perry, what are you doing? Take that. Oh my god, Katy Perry. Stop, Katy Perry. Take your gross, disgusting vagine off. Take your gross, disgusting vagine off. It works sexual harassment. Sexual harassment. I call that the vaginaing.
Oh, that's amazing.
And
bitch, by the way, Ruby Rose is like a persona.
Wait a minute! Don't talk about her like she's not in the room because she totally is.
Oh, hi.
You can say it to her face.
Hi, Ruby. What are her pronouns? I feel like she would have pronouns.
like whatever you want them to be. Giggle cool.
This bitch, you bitch, are the personification of like a walking fake rape allegation. Like it just that's the thing. It just comes in the feminism starter pack. Like you cannot have you cannot not have a rape allegation against someone. You're required. Which is why when somebody hasn't been a victim, they need to like think back and how can I twist something into it? Oh, this guy put his hand on my knee once.
I have walked into more gay parties than I can tell you. And the very first thing that some dude I've never met in my life does is stick his hand right down the front of my fucking pants. It happened to me so many. Gay men are just like that. I mean, yeah, is it technically sexual assault? Yeah. But you know what? Well, there were times I liked it.
It depends on who. It depends on who it's coming from.
But when I didn't like it, you can take his hand off and knock him, right? It just, this idea, I mean, this woman claiming, first of all, I completely believe that a slut like Katy Perry would absolutely get up on a table, pull her panties aside, and start, squeegeeing her junk on somebody's face. I totally believe it, right? But the solution to that problem should have been
tell her to fuck off.
Performed in the moment, which is that you kick her in the taco, right?
Yes.
If she's going to put her enchilada on you, you're going to kick it, right? I've just got done filing a police report. Oh, okay.
And that's the thing. If you talk about being a strong woman, then be a strong woman. And if someone does something you told,
why do you want Ruby Rose to be raped, Mikey? Why do you want Ruby Rose to be vagina raped?
I couldn't give two shits. You actually just reminded me, though. I do have a story for you that I feel like really exposes the normalization of all this shit. So this was back in the day. This was when I was still a liberal, but I was in my mind very slowly starting to wake up to it. And all my friends at the time were like these very woke Williamsburg, Brooklyn types. Half of them worked at BuzzFeed. Those types, champagne communists. So one of these friends had a party at his apartment one night. I met this guy there, and I'm sick in the head. So whenever I meet a guy, I'm thinking about, oh, we're gonna get married, and we're, that's where I go. My heart is a slut. I have a slutty heart. So anyway, though, this guy's like coming on super strong, saying all the bullshit that they always say. Oh, I like you so much. You're so this, you're so that, you're that, blah, blah, blah. And so we exchange numbers, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I'll take you to dinner this week. Let's go out, whatever. So after a while of this, he starts trying to get me to just go home with him, which I'd said I'm not going to do. However, let's go out to dinner this week. He starts getting really nasty about it. And starts really trying to pressure me. What you think? It starts getting nasty. He's like, "What, you think anyone else is gonna want you?" He's like, "I'm not gonna call you if you don't come home with me." And just tried every manipulation tactic that there is: guilt, shame, flattery, every single one. And so finally, I put my foot down. I was like, "Listen, that's not happening. However, you have my number. Would love to grab dinner this week." Finally, this guy storms out. He's so furious I won't just go hook up with him. Storms out and leaves the party. So I'm feeling a little shaken in the moment. Yeah. I'm feeling like kind of shitty. It kind of felt like not great. And I'm not saying it's any sort of, Ruby Rose thing. I'm just saying it's, I think, an example of how there are no baseline standards with gay men, because all the people at that party, these are people who worked at BuzzFeed. These are people who every day would preach Me Too. And if a man looks at a woman, it's without consent, it's rape, all this shit. And so people came up to me at the party and were like, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" And so I told them what happened. And every single one their only response was, "Why didn't you just go home with him?" So wow. I think that really speaks to how normalized the gay culture is. When I talk about the gay culture, that is what I'm talking about. Because if a man treated a woman that way, someone would have thrown him off the fucking balcony. But it's seen as totally normal if you're gay. The gay culture is just be the worst you can be at all times without consequences.
Yeah. Yep.
So these people, their words mean nothing. They're just hypocrites through and through.
That's the thing. That's the thing that I wish more conservatives would truly understand, is how deeply dishonest and disingenuous most of the left is about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are conservatives out there. These tend to be the more mild-mannered people, and a lot of them are very nice people, but they're obstacles as far as I'm concerned, because I sort of think of them as system justifiers. Like, they want to give the benefit of the doubt to everybody. They don't like harsh words. They don't want somebody like me representing anything in their conservative world, because they want to give everybody good faith and they want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Like, you know what? The great majority of this stuff from the left, don't give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Don't actually believe they're really trying to protect vulnerable women from rape, or they're really trying to protect vulnerable minorities from harassment. They're not. They don't care about this stuff. They never did care about it. They're just lying. They're just self-centered.
Yeah. Do you find also, I feel like there's sort of a resurgence of misunderstanding from some people about being gay, that it really does bug me when people, like, I got into an argument about this with somebody recently. It really does bug me when someone acts like it's just a choice and you could choose to just not be, because, like, I think everyone knows what my choice would be if it were worst choice ever. Let me just say that.
Right. Yeah.
But
I know I've heard you say that before. You were the first gay guy I've ever heard say that, as a matter of fact.
Oh my God. If you could just snap your, in a heartbeat. And look, that doesn't mean, liberals would hear that and go, oh, you hate yourself or something. It's like, no, you are what you are and you make the best of it. But would I have chosen this? Because there has been no greater struggle in my entire life than trying to, I don't know, make my way through, or fit in, not fit in, because I don't really try to fit in, so I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but coexist, I guess, with other gay men, because it is impossible. And I think it really is impossible for anybody who wants any sort of functional relationship. Like, you really have to just try to suppress those thoughts, and not for the reason that people claim you do. It's because of friggin' gay guys and their messed up culture.
I think there's two theoretical strands in what you just said. One of them is the issue of choice or not, and the other one is what gay men are really like. So let me take them one at a time. There's a lot of misunderstanding about almost everything these days. We are so frenetic in our social media, and we wield words as emotional symbols more than we use them to actually communicate meaning, that I think if we genuinely are to understand each other in any kind of conversation, the very first thing we have to do is actually give definitions for the words we're using, like really basic definitions. So when the choice question about homosexuality is a perfect example. People will say, you're choosing this, that, or the other thing. And one person hears, she is saying that I chose to be erotically attracted to men. Another person is hearing, she's saying I chose to have sex with men and I shouldn't be able to make that choice. These are not the same thing. And for the people who say things like being gay is a choice, you really need, honestly, if you genuinely want to get a point across, you have to get a point across. You're not getting a point across with that. Because I don't know actually what you mean. And here's my question to you, and you should anticipate this. You guys should anticipate this. Have theory of mind for other people. Cast your mind into your conversational partner's space and say, what does he need to know from me so that he understands what I'm trying to say? Very few people do this anymore. Have theory of mind. So what are you saying? Are you saying that John Q. Public chose to be gay? Does that mean that you believe that when he was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, however old he was, when he first began to have these erotic attractions to men, are you saying that he made a conscious choice to choose to be attracted? That is as nonsensical as saying, well, you know, I'm a kid and lima beans make me throw up. I actually gag when my mom makes me eat lima beans. But tomorrow I'm going to choose to like them. So I'm going to make a conscious decision today. And tomorrow, whenever I eat the lima beans, I'll actually experience pleasure. That you can't choose these subjective feelings. Nobody chose their erotic attractions. You choose behavior, right? So I cannot choose. If I could, I would. Oh, believe me, if I could, I would. I cannot choose to stop being sexually attracted to men. I am sexually attracted to men. That is the state of my involuntary response inside. I don't have voluntary control over it. I do have control over my behavior. I've been single and celibate for 7 years. That is a choice. I can choose my behavior. I cannot choose my attraction on this level. So I never know, Mike, if what exactly people are saying when they talk about being gay as a choice.
I think they're either saying you either could or should choose to not be. But but what I add to that nobody ever mentions is, okay, let's say that somebody does that. Let's say somebody is gay and they try not to be. And this happens all the time.
What does that mean? I have to stop you. What does it mean to try not to be gay? Does that mean they're going to try not to experience the attractions, or they're not going to engage in the behavior?
In their actions, they try to live as a heterosexual. Believe me, plenty of them have hit on me over the years.
Yeah, oh, I know, me too.
Right? Yeah, there are quite a lot of them. And the thing is, this happens all the time, that a man who's secretly gay marries a woman. They're married 20, 30 years, and then the guy goes, hey, actually, by the way, I'm gay. I feel like that ought to come with jail time. I feel it would.
That's a wicked a wicked thing to do.
But I feel like to deny the inherent nature of sexual orientation is encouraging women to have their lives destroyed. I think, and to me, there is no excuse to ever be that much of a coward that, oh, I'm going to pretend to be straight. And you have no right to allow that to impact someone else's life. You have no right to strip away years and years and decades from someone else, rob them of their chance to find their true love because you're just a coward. To me, I have no sympathy for that.
Yeah, I don't either. And also, there's no justification for it anymore, because we have not lived in a world for decades where nobody has to be in the closet anymore. Frankly, straight people experience more discrimination in jobs than gay people do. Everybody wants faggots and queeros and all, at least the left side of the country, the arts institutions, the universities, academia, this sort of thing. But the other part of that dynamic that you were talking about is, you know, the impossibility of having a fulfilling, mature, committed relationship with other gay men. This is another part of our modern mythology that, unfortunately, I'm really quite irritated about this, because more of it is coming from the straight world now than the gay world. The straight world is acting as flying monkeys for narcissistic gay people. They are gassing us up, and, you know, they won't even let, you know, the lefty straight allies won't even let conservative gays like us talk anymore. They somehow get the talking stick and we don't, right?
That's always how it is with them.
And you know, this idea that there's no difference between gay men and gay people and straight people except who they choose to sleep with is fuck that. Yeah, there is. And it's not nice, and you don't like it, and that's why you're going to scream. But the reality is the rates of mental illness, addiction, dysfunction, and cluster B personality disorders are off the charts with homosexuals. There is a very big psychological difference between the average straight person off the street and the average gay person off the street. And this is not new. And it didn't come from homophobia. It doesn't come from minority stress. You know, people, you know, gay men aren't running around with cluster B personalities like histrionic and borderline and narcissism because somebody wasn't nice to them in 10th grade.
If that were the case, then those rates would have declined over the last decade. They have not.
And they have not.
And another one is SSRI use amongst gay men. Do you know, I have never once been in a relationship with a guy who was not on antidepressants. It is at a point now where I feel like it's something I need to ask on a first date or before a first date, which there's no good way to do that. So I never know what to do. But
I'm not surprised.
I'm like, I am never, ever, ever, ever again getting involved with someone on antidepressants over my dead body. And then what always ends up happening
full disclosure, I'm an SSRI user and have been for about 30 years. I wish I weren't, but the reality is every time I try to go off them within 6 months, I fall into a terrible depression. So
well, I don't necessarily mean everybody. It's the same, you know, not all, like you
no,
say.
I know what you mean. I'm not trying to make you not all. I'm just letting you know that that's, you know, that's where my, you know, I do have personal experience with this. It doesn't, I don't think it's not about the drugs themselves. It's about the conditions that create the need or the perceived need for the drug.
Every time it's like somebody had a minor inconvenience, a minor bad experience, which, you know, ain't a tenth of what most people go through.
Right.
And got shoved on these. And I've experienced it, that it's happened to me. I've never been on anything, but that I've like, in case you can't tell, I have super ADD, which I refuse to take anything for. But two different times I went to a doctor just to be like, hey, what are my options for this?
Yeah.
In terms of vitamins, supplements, whatever.
Sure.
First doctor I went to hands me a prescription. Oh, this is a great thing. It's a non-stimulant. It just makes it sound like it's like taking an aspirin. So I leave her office. I look it up on Google. She didn't tell me it's an antidepressant. So I crumble it up. I'm like, I'm not taking that. I go to another doctor. This one straight up lied to my face because and I was in there for all of 5 minutes, and I told her what happened with the last one and said, I don't want to be on antidepressants. I just want to know what my options are. Oh, well, there's this great drug we use to treat it. It's not an antidepressant. This time I Google it in her office. First thing is an antidepressant. So I tell her that. She goes, okay, well, what I think would be really effective for you is this drug. It's a non-stimulant. It's great. It's a huge success for everyone. I look it up. It's an antipsychotic. And the thing is,
that is serious.
Because I think this is how so many people get hooked on these drugs. These fucking people saw me for all of 2 minutes. They don't know if I'm depressed. They don't know if I'm psychotic. They don't know. Don't get me wrong. Well, I'm psychotic for many reasons.
Mike, I obviously, I mean, we've met in person, but I think we met only once, maybe twice.
We got to change that.
Yeah, we do. Maybe I know. You know, a lot of people on a lot of the Disaffected crew, the friends of the show, talk about a meetup. Maybe someday I will organize a meetup. I used to run national conferences and stuff, and I'm just so allergic to it now. The thought of it is like, but maybe we should have a meetup. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that anymore because I'll get mail about it forever. But you know, so mostly, I mean, I've hung out with you. We were at conference together. We've talked many times with each other over probably 4 or 5 years now, because I met you through Carrie Smith. You were Carrie's friend, and then I met Carrie, and that's how we know each other. And I love her. But you don't strike me as a depressive. I don't know if you've had periods of your life that could actually be described as clinical depression, but you don't strike me as a guy who experiences a lot of depression. Am I right or wrong about that?
You're actually wrong. I do. I just hide it well.
Do you? Okay.
But
well,
yeah, I just don't want to take anything for it.
I don't blame you, and I'm not trying to get you to take anything. You know, I mean,
but they didn't know that. They didn't. You know, they.
Right.
But I think, and it's only because of the journey that I've had, learning the things I have had, that I even knew to look these things up and don't just trust what an authority figure says. How many people, and if this would have happened to me a decade prior, I probably would have just been like, okay, the doctor said this, fill the prescription. How many people just do that? Most probably. And
most people. I did. I mean, I took everything, you know, and I still take a low dose of an SSRI because I don't want to try. I will try going off again at some point because I'd like to be off as much medicine as possible. But you know, the last couple of years ago when I did it, I fell into such a profound, one of the worst depressions of my life, and I'm just not ready to face that possibility. And yes, I do know, for those who are concerned, that there are protocols that unusual doctors will do that will help you titrate down in a much. I get it. I'm aware of all the information. Thank you for your concern. If you're thinking of it, I know what to do when I want to do this. But the base problem here with the gay men and now with an increasing number of straight people, especially young women whose mental health is doing very poorly. How do I want to say this? I believe that most, not all, but most actual depression, actual mental illness, things like complicated post-traumatic stress disorder and the symptoms of that, the rumination, all this sort of stuff, post-trauma are mostly post-trauma syndromes. And I'm talking about real trauma, not, I didn't get an iPhone on my 10th birthday, but real family dysfunction, real child abuse and neglect is responsible for the vast majority of people who end up on a therapist's couch or who end up taking antidepressants. The base conditions that we are subjecting children to and that are going on in families are distorting us and leaving millions of people with genuine psychological trauma that they don't recognize for what it is. And they think they can get relief only through a pill or by cutting off their body parts or by adopting a certain brand identity. And nowhere is this more dire and more common than among gay men. And, like I did a show on this a couple of months ago. What I'm saying isn't new. This is not a new psychological condition for gay men. It has always been the case since we've been tracking this stuff. The literature throughout the 20th century, the psychiatric and psychological literature has found consistently the same thing. The rate of mental illness, personality disturbance, personality pathology, drug addiction among homosexuals is at least, the most conservative studies show that it's at least twice as high as the heterosexual population. But my 51 years of observation and experience tells me it's much higher than twice as high. I think it's much higher than that. This is a real problem. And if we're not allowed to talk about this, if we're not allowed, for example, and you don't have to agree with me, Mike, but we can at least talk about it. And again, I'm not talking about you personally. I know there are exceptions. But in my view, and I'm pretty firm on this, homosexuality is usually an outcome of trauma and neglect. And that is going to be the case for the majority of gay men, whether you peg that at 60% or 70% or 80%. We're not allowed to talk about homosexuality, even be it possible for it to be a trauma response, possible for it to be a result of dysfunction. If we can't do that, then we can't look honestly at the dysfunctional family structures that are causing mental distress to children who then grow up to be distressed adults.
I think for me, I totally agree with you. Of course, we should be able to have that discussion. I think for me personally, people who have wanted to have that discussion with me, it always ends up going like this, is that they don't say what you're saying. They say it always is, it only is. And so when I try to say, well, I wasn't abused, I'm very close with my family, like I wish I could say that I was, and then there would be an explanation.
No, I'm not even trying to, it doesn't bother me that there are exceptions. I acknowledge that they're there.
No, I know. A lot of people, what they do is they'll say it's always caused by this, and I'll be like, well, I wasn't abused. They'll go, yes, you were. I'm like, okay, like there's nowhere to go. Like, where would you like the conversation to go from?
There is nowhere to go with that. Devil's advocate position though, and I'm not talking about you personally, but I've met so many gay men who have said, I wasn't abused. And then when I learn anything about their family background, or I actually meet their parents or usually their mother, I can see the cluster B. I can see what's going on in there.
I mean, my mom is basically a drag queen, but you'd love her.
Your parents, your dad's a music producer, right?
Mm-hmm. And my mom was a jazz singer.
A jazz singer, right? And you've got an uncle who was a singer. Was it an uncle or grandfather? Your father's father?
And Frank Sinatra were rivals with each other. He was an Italian singer.
That is so cool. Do I remember right that your dad at one point worked with or for the Ronettes?
I think
Ronnie
so.
Spector and the Ronettes.
Pretty much everyone of that era. Bob Dylan, Tina Turner, Bob Denver, the Four Seasons.
Fun.
Yeah, he wrote a lot of music for them.
He must have a million stories.
He does. Yeah, they're awesome. But no, for me, I don't know. For me, I really never thought very much about what causes because I'm like, I don't know. Is it because I was born that way? Is it because my mom wore one too many sequins when I was a child? I don't know. What for me, the more pertinent question is whether it's voluntary or not, which obviously is involuntary.
And regardless of where it comes from, I mean, there's a certain point where that no longer matters. What matters is what you choose to do with your life as you're living it now. Which is, one of the things that's been one of your consistent messages, not just on the issue of sexuality, but it matters what you do now.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never connected the two. You're good at this.
Well, I mean, it has to do with what we were talking about with the rape stuff and this, that, and everything. Yeah,
that's a good
it's
point.
not possible to go back and change, but it is entirely possible to choose how you respond to this. It's not something I felt confident about until the past 10 years or so. It took a while to get there.
Yeah, which is why I think it's so important to have this discussion and talk about the cultural things that should change, that are wrong, that are unproductive, that are making people absolutely miserable. And I think that's a big cause of a lot of these things. There are no guardrails. There are no positive values that will ever be instilled in a single gay person for any reason at any time. And if there's going to be this idea of the gay community, then why do they exist? If not to instill positive values in people or give something to aspire to other than being the drunk slut at the bar, then why do they exist?
There is nothing else. There is nothing else. It is just to be the drunk slut at the bar.
And for these identity communism groups to collect paychecks.
Yep. And for a whole bunch of it's tailing off now. But this massive, ridiculous over-identification among young people with alternative sexualities, 15 or 20% of them saying there's something other than heterosexual. No, you're not.
It's so crazy.
No, you're not.
It's so crazy too. And keep in mind, I'm from Manhattan. It is so crazy. It's a different planet compared to when I was growing. The first guy I was ever involved with was the first gay guy around my age I ever met. And I was like 18. I never met, there were zero in school. There were zero growing. It was unheard of. And that's in New York City.
Well, in fairness, I think you'd probably agree that you did go to high school with other gay people, but they weren't.
Oh, yeah, but I mean out. Oh, I know in particular now one of them.
Yeah. I came out as gay early. I was in, I think, late middle school.
That's right.
In the late 80s, and that was unusual in those times. There were no other, I didn't know any other kids. I wasn't the only one. I've now since read about some of my age contemporaries who had a similar experience, but now it's totally different now. And here, I was covering what was going on in Burlington about 3 years ago. With the schools here are, as you would expect, the public schools are indoctrination camps. They're hiding gender identities from parents and colluding with kids who think they're cats and things like that. But they actually, one of the Burlington high schools, shocking to me, they actually polled their student body, high school students, about their sexuality. I'm like, and so, I mean, that's sin number one, right? You should never be talking to children about sex like that. But then the results of their survey show that 30% of the high school students are non-heterosexual. They're LGBTQ identified. Are you kidding me?
What does that even mean?
It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. But how did this... we can't answer this.
It's a social contagion.
It's a way... I didn't expect this to become a social contagion.
Yeah. Especially when we were growing, and especially for you.
Yeah, when
so early in a time that it was so unheard of.
It was totally different. It was totally different. I mean, this of all things I never would have expected. So.
Same, no. And when I was growing up, it was like if somebody was called gay, that was like the worst thing you could ever say about someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not have expected this either. I almost preferred it that way. Can we just go back to that?
Well, there was a lot to be said for that.
Compared to this.
I think she won. Can you guys hear purr for the people, Mina?
Aww.
Can you hear that?
No.
Say hi. She gets very jealous when I talk to other people.
Look at that face.
I will love you and pet you and call you George.
Aw. See,
right.
you have a long-term relationship.
I do. Where's Shredder at? No, Kitty, I just gave. Man, Kitty's being a dildo. Let's go out on something funny. Oh, but before we go out, tell other people, tell my audience where they can find you. Because what are you calling it now? Pimpcast?
That's a separate. So I'm doing a separate show.
Okay.
My regular.
Tell everybody about all of your media products.
Ooh. Well, so my regular show is called Microaggressed. Usually do like once a week, sometimes twice. We did a fun show the other night. I'll have one in a couple days, and then now I started also doing a new stream called Pimpcast with a bunch of guys. It's like the men's stream. We'll bring some pimpettes on now and then. But yeah,
I'm gonna tune in later. I have not seen Pimpcast yet, but I'm coming later. What time does it go?
Tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. So come hang out on Pimpcast. We try for that. I don't know about you. I am so burnt out with politics, which is why this has been an amazing discussion. Like, we barely got into politics. I'm so sick of like direct politics. So Pimpcast is more of like a fun show. We talk about relationships, dating, stupid shit, movies, pop culture, nerdy stuff. So it's just kind of like a little.
It does sound like fun,
guys. So it's tonight on my channel, 8 p.m. Eastern. My channel is just my name, and I'm also on Twitter at not Mike Harlow or Instagram at Mikey.Harlow.
Well, Mike, thanks so much for coming on the show. It had been too long since I had you, and I'll have to have you back again. We'll have to find some other topics to cut up about. Did you and I ever do a movie night with people?
No, I don't think so.
We really need to, because we would be funny watching a movie with people.
Yes, let's do it. We should do like because you have your community, I have mine. We should do
we can make that community come together and stuff.
The MJ plus community. That's totally us. Yeah. What movie should we watch?
Well, I don't know, something ridiculous. Something. I'm stuck on the camp classics.
Oh, same.
So,
you know what's an underrated camp classic? Everyone talks about Showgirls, which is the GOAT. Striptease is also quite great.
I haven't even heard of that. Striptease?
Demi Moore, they gave her $20 million to show her tits. And she's like
Wait, when was this?
So much. What's that?
They must have filmed it in a cemetery. When did this happen?
This was in the 90s.
Oh, okay. When she was still alive.
I wanted to see them.
Okay.
But she's like a downtrodden single mother with the, abusive husband, and she becomes a stripper. Because the courts are very anti-woman. So it's a fantasy. What was the other one I was gonna say? Something where Josh can hate on the women in it.
Well, there are so many possibilities. There's a couple of them.
I know what I was thinking. Have you seen Enough with J-Lo?
No.
The domestic violence J-Lo movie?
No. Is it really bad?
Oh, it's amazing. And of course, I'm sure you.
Okay, that's the first one we're gonna do, because that's. Is she as bad an actress as I suspect she is?
Yes. I just saw a video though the other day of her. So usually, I thought she always just lip syncs. She for some reason did a concert recently, live singing, and I'm like, oh, that's why she lip syncs.
Oh, is she real bad?
She tried to sing. You're not gonna believe this. She tried to sing "Don't Rain on My Parade."
Oh, I think I saw a clip of that. It was not good.
Limitations, girl.
It was not good. You know what? She should have just stayed Jenny from the block. Basically go back to the same corner. I think that phone booth where you lost your virginity is still there. So I can't take credit. It's not my joke. It's just too funny not to repeat.
Oh, I love it.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. Disaffectants, thank you very much for joining us. We do this live stream usually at 6 p.m. on Thursdays, but today earlier because we wanted to get Mike on. So thank you for joining us. Remember, we would absolutely dearly love your support, especially if you wanted to give a super chat, but you couldn't because YouTube is screwing with our monetization. There's stupid bureaucratic paperwork. I don't think they're actually suppressing us on this front right now. But if you wanted to give support to the show, we definitely appreciate it. It is part of how I make my living. Very easy. Go to disaffected.com and just click on support us. That'll take you to a one-time contribution link. We appreciate that. And we will see you guys all on Sunday night. Bye, everybody, and bye, Mike.